Everybody, welcome to the Kern County Planning Commission. Members of the audience, there are copies of the agenda that we'll be referring to tonight down the back tables if you haven't got one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call the Kern County Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Ashley. Commissioner Brooks.
Here.
Commissioner Dunbar.
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Van Wyk.
Here.
Mr. Murphy.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Hoover.
Here.
Okay, moving on. Want to go ahead and get any commissioner member announcements or reports? Would any commissioner or staff member like to make an announcement or report at all? Okay, seeing none, we'll move ahead to the approval of the minutes. You've received copies of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections? If there are none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 9th minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, can I get a verbal?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved. Moving on. Items withdrawn or requests for continuance. Mr. Murphy, will you review the items which have been withdrawn and the requests for continuance, please?
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. This evening, you have two items that staff is recommending a continuance to. The first is case number 1. The applicant is ACC Bakersfield JV, LLC. Staff is recommending that project be continued until your August 27th, 2026 hearing. And then item number 7, the second item we are recommending a continuance on is the Galaxy Solar Storage LLC project, and staff is recommending that project also be continued to your August 27th, 2026 hearing. That completes the items that are being recommended for continuance at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any staff comment on that? No, moving on. I'll entertain a motion regarding item number 1 and number 7.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, on screen vote, please.
4 ayes, 2 absent, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to our consent items. Mr. Murphy, will you review the consent agenda, please?
I will. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. So these are items scheduled before your commission, which are being recommended for approval by staff. The applicant has been informed of any special conditions and has no objection. The hearing on these items may be expedited if no member of the commission or audiences wishes to comment or ask any questions on the case. This evening, we have 4 cases that are on the consent calendar. The first is case number 2, CUP 21, map 197, CUP number 46, map 198. Our applicant is Cal Portland Company by Harrison, Temblador, Hungerford, and Guernsey. This project is located south of Oak Creek Road, east of Tehachapi Willow Springs Road, approximately 6 miles southeast of the city of Tehachapi, and 7¼ miles west of the community of Mojave. The action before you today is the Mojave Life of Mine Reclamation Plan project. This is a reclamation plan amendment to the existing 1979 reclamation plan. The project consists of a conditional use permit 21, map 197, and conditional use permit number 46, map 198, that would supersede the existing reclamation plan and provide for reclamation of the vested mining lands in accordance with the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act of 1975. The overall project is 4,367 combined acres on 16 privately owned parcels that are zoned A, AWE, A1, A1FP, A1WE, E20RS, M3, M3FP, M3WE, NR20, and FPP. The staff recommendation is to certify the environmental impact report, adopt section 15091 findings of fact, and section 15093 statement of overriding considerations, adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, approve the conditional use permit subject to the recommended conditions, and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolutions. The next case on consent is case number 3. This is LNC number 2, map 167. Our applicant is Unisim North America. This project is located approximately 1.5 miles north of Highway 58, 2 miles east of the city of Tehachapi. The action before you today is a request to consider vested mining rights for an approximately 206-acre area abutting the existing Monolith Limestone Quarry in an A zone district. The staff recommendation is to approve the vested mining rights request, adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution, with further mining not to be conducted until such time as a reclamation plan with the appropriate review under the California Environmental Quality Act is approved and adequate financial assurances for the reclamation plan is approved by the Kern County Public Works Department. The next item on consent is case number 4. This is CUP 48, map 10212. Our applicant is C&C Acquisition Group LLC by Scarpel, Frank and Associates. This project is located at 604 Norris Road in the Bakersfield area. The action before you is a conditional use permit to allow the placement of a 1,152 square foot prefabricated single-family dwelling with an additional 1,052 square foot prefabricated accessory dwelling unit on a just over 7,500 square foot parcel that is zoned CO. The staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. And then finally, the last case on consent is case number 6. This is CUP number 2, map number 41. Our applicant is Jose Angel Centeno. This project is located approximately 1,000 feet west of Sierra Way, north of Linda Lane in the Kern River Valley area. The request before you is a conditional use permit to allow the placement of a recreational vehicle for temporary occupancy, all on an approximately 23-acre parcel on property that is zoned A1. The staff recommendation is to approve conditional use permit in accordance with the recommended conditions and adopt the suggested findings as set forth in the attached draft resolution. That completes the reading of the consent calendar tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Is there any member of the audience that wishes to speak on any of these 4 items at this time? If you do, they will be removed from the consent agenda and heard in their regular order. Okay, I see 2. Come on down and be recognized then, real quick. What,
It's the numbers, the CUP number 2, map 41.
that's the Cal Portland? Is it the-
No, it's the trailer,
Okay, number.
the RV. Case number 6.
Okay, thank you. So you want us to, okay, so what we can do on that is just go ahead and move that to the regular? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, real quick, we could, unless it's a very straightforward, simple question. That was the only thing I would just ask. I don't know if you want to probably comments. I'm not sure exactly what the nature of the question is, so I think I would ask that first.
what's your question?
So we're not NIMBYism about the trailer. What we're concerned about is the topography and the wind and that there's no on-site water on the property and that the trailer, according to the CUP, is not going to be, there's no one going to be there, so it's going to be unoccupied at certain points. So we have great concerns, the community, that we're down below the ridge and the wind blows right through the V where the 2 pads are or the other pads up on top of the hill. And what we're concerned about is there is no utilities, no on-site water, nothing up there. And we would like it to be stipulated that there should be some on-site water for the CUP to be authorized just for our own protection. There's a history of fire in the area. I believe in our letters, we submitted photos from the 2004 fire that started in Camp 9 and blew into all of our backyards. So everybody on our, if you see the camper, we're on the V of the topography is on the right side and it blows down into all of our properties. And we're really concerned about it because the wind that's where the wind funnels right into there. And so everybody's in our little community there has sent a letter in, and we're not trying to keep them from doing what they want to do with their property. We just want it stipulated that they need to have some on-site water available to mitigate any
So
sort of
you're worried about
fires.
any kind of fire or things
Yeah.
like that? Okay, so you're a neighboring property?
Yes, we're neighboring, and letters were sent from all the neighboring properties. If you pull off the map of all the neighboring properties,
I
we're
got you.
all in alignment.
Okay, I don't want to take too long on this. Sir, come on down to be recognized. Come down to be recognized, please, real quick. If this can be settled real quick, then we can move this right along.
Oh, Jose, nice to meet you.
And who are you?
I come from a rural area. I'm in a very high fire designation zone, so I understand the issue with fire. It's very important to me as well. Yes, I've been to the top, and there's a lot of wind. So the trailer's not gonna be there permanently. The trailer will only be used maximum 7 days per stay, and I believe it says 90 days maximum per year. It'll be used max 6 times 10s a year for a very short period of times. The trailer comes in with water in itself. There's no outside cooking. The fire department does not allow any outside cooking, no campfires. So I am very respectful of the area. I love Kern County. So there is no, and we'll, what do you call it? We will do our best to leave the land as pristine as it is. There was concerns about the future development. Yes, it would be great to build a home with proper water and septic and everything, but the code does allow for a trailer, anything over 20 acres. So we're very respectful, and yes, fire is a big issue to me. So I understand the concern of the fellow neighbors, and they are being addressed, and we did explain that to the planner. So hopefully, obviously, you can take my word, and each time that the trailer is gonna be there, I'll be there because I am the landowner. It's not gonna be a trailer park, no camping for other people, it's not gonna be rented. So hopefully, if you can take my word, or we can wait and we can go back.
Well, let's talk after the meeting and to exchange our numbers, and that's all we want to do was get it on a record, our concerns, and we met you, and
Perfect.
let's.
Awesome,
we'll
yeah.
Perfect,
handle
thank
it.
you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
That makes that easy. Okay. Moving on, we're going to keep that in order. Is there any, okay, it's closed to the public now. Is there any member of the commission that wishes to remove any of these items to be heard in regular order? No. Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion from the commission on these 4 items, 2, 3, 4, and 6.
I'll entertain a motion for items 2, 3, 4, and 6.
I'll second.
On screen vote, please.
Four ayes, one absent, motion carries.
Okay, anybody who is here for those items 2, 3, 4, and 6, your application has been approved now by the commission. Is there any appeal process or anything else? Mr.
There is,
Murphy?
Mr. Chairman. So all 4 of these actions are final, so all 4 of these actions are subject to an appeal. So for projects where the Planning Commission action is final, those actions are subject to appeal to the Board of Supervisors by any interested person. No development proposed by any application may be authorized until after the final date of appeal. That appeal may be filed with the Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Department located at 2700 M Street, Suite 100 in Bakersfield, with a filing fee of $562 on forms available at the department and on the department website. That filing must be made within 14 days of and including the date of tonight's hearing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Murphy. All right, moving forward, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the commission here on any matter that's not on tonight's agenda and over which the commission has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. We'd ask you to state your name for the record before making your presentation. Is there anybody that would like to be heard? Okay, seeing none, moving on. The first item we will be hearing tonight, I believe is item number 5, correct? On the regular agenda? Is the applicant or representative here tonight? Yes. Okay. Is there anybody in the audience other than the applicant who wishes to speak either against, for or against this item? For or against? Okay. We'll have that just as soon as we have the presentation, then we'll give you a chance, okay? So staff, would you give the staff report presentation for this application?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Paul Johnson will be presenting this case this evening.
Perfect, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Paul Johnson, Assistant Planning Director. The project before you tonight is Specific Plan Amendment 97, Map 101, Zone Change Case Number 208, Map 101, Investing Tentative Track Map 7446. The applicant is Beatty Family Farms and O'Connell Investments LLC by Beatty Homes. The applicant and members of the project team are also present this evening as noted and will be available to answer any questions your commission may have after staff's presentation. The project site is located on the south side of Hageman Road, approximately 1/4 mile east of Nord Avenue in the western Bakersfield area. The site consists of 3 parcels totaling just over 34 acres. Access to the development will be provided by Hageman Road along the northern boundary. The applicant is requesting an amendment to the land use element of the Western Rosedale Specific Plan. Specifically, the proposal would redesignate the entire 34-acre site from ER, which is estate residential, to LMR, which is low, medium density residential. The entire property is currently zoned A, but is held in suspense to E1 RS, which is estate 1-acre residential suburban combining. The applicant is proposing to change the zone classification from A to R1, which is low-density residential on the northern 10-acre portion, to E1 quarter on the middle 10-acre portion, and to E1/2 RS on the southern 10-acre portion. The 4 1/4 acre sump lot on the western side of the property will remain under its current zoning classification. The specific plan amendment and zone change will facilitate the development of vesting tentative tract map 7446. This map will subdivide the 34 acres into 77 residential lots and 1 sump lot. Development is proposed in 3 phases. Phase 1 in the northern portion contains 35 lots with minimum lot sizes of approximately 0.2 acres. Phase 2 contains 27 lots with a minimum 1/4 acre lots, excluding the sump lot. And Phase 3 consists of 14 lots with a minimum size of 0.64 acres. To implement the subdivision, the applicant is requesting 4 variations from the land division ordinance. As a side note, these variations are common with tract maps, so there's nothing unusual. The first variation is to allow a dead-end road length exceeding 800 feet. Since there is only 1 point of access from Hageman on the north, the road length to the southern turnaround area is 2,255 feet. The purpose of this standard is to implement California Code of Regulations, Section 1273, which is intended to limit the total length of dead-end roads in California to reduce fire risks by ensuring safe ingress and egress in wildfire-prone areas. The Kern County Fire Department has reviewed these plans and did not object to the variation, in part because the project is not located within a wildfire-prone area, and all homes within the subdivision will be equipped with automatic fire sprinkler systems, which provide an added layer of fire protection. The second variation is the elimination of the required internal equestrian trail. The land division ordinance states that where the keeping of equine animals is proposed as a use within a development, the subdivider shall provide adequate internal equestrian trails. Because the southern 14 lots will contain the RS, or Residential Suburban Combining District, those properties could accommodate up to 1 adult animal per 1/4 acre, or in this case, 2 horses per lot. Providing an internal public equestrian trail for these lots would require a public trail easement across private property, limiting how homeowners could use their lots if they did not want horses. It's also important to recognize that this variation request does not affect the regional equestrian trail identified in the Western Rosedale Specific Plan. While property owners may be riding horses on dirt roads or other trails in the area, the approved equestrian trail is located approximately 2 miles south of the project site, as shown on the circulation map of the Western Rosedale Specific Plan. Since the internal equestrian trail would not connect to any existing trail and the approved regional equestrian trail remains unaffected, staff supports this variation request. The third variation is to allow double frontage lots. These lots have streets along both the front and rear property lines, which can create circulation and access concerns. However, as with the majority of residential subdivisions, the developer proposes a 6-foot masonry wall along the rear property lines of these lots, thereby restricting access to only the front street. This wall adequately addresses any access concerns, and staff supports the variance for lots 1 through 9 and lots 64 through 70. The fourth variation is to allow key and reverse corner lots. Lots 60 and 61 are considered reverse corner lots on this map with access on McCormick Court, while lots 64 and 77 are key lots with access on the New Holland Court. The primary consideration with this configuration is maintaining adequate line of sight for the key lots when pulling vehicles onto the local road since their front property line is an extension of the side yard of the reverse corner lot. And typically, reverse corner lots have a side yard fence. This photograph shows a similar residential subdivision in the area. The potential line of sight issues for key lots are typically addressed by locating driveways opposite the reverse corner lot, as you see here. Additionally, side yard fencing on reverse corner lots are set further back from the road. And you can see where it's circled there on the left. Community mailboxes and utility equipment are commonly placed within these areas to maintain a clear line of sight for vehicles. This type of lot configuration is common in residential subdivisions, and staff supports the variation. The final part of the overall request before your commission is a waiver of signatures of the mineral rights owners because the applicant is unable to locate and obtain 100% of the signatures. Although the land division ordinance generally requires signatures from all mineral rights owners, it also authorizes the Planning Commission to allow a waiver when doing so serves the public interest. The applicant retained a specialized consultant to identify and contact mineral rights owners and successfully obtained over 93% of the required signatures. Despite their efforts, there are 5 owners that could not be located or their signatures obtained. There are over 100 pages attached to your staff report that demonstrate some of their actions to obtain those signatures. Given the substantial effort made and the public benefit associated with additional housing, staff supports granting the waiver. In addition to the agency comments included in the staff report, staff received 6 public comment letters. 2 comment letters did not provide addresses but appeared to reside in the area. 4 commenters listed addresses, although 1 address could not be validated. The remaining nearby property owners are shown on the map, and all comments along with staff's response are included in the report. The applicant also met with several neighboring property owners to discuss the project and can brief you on that outcome. And I would note that there was another comment letter handed out tonight that your commission should be viewing. Additionally, staff met with one of the adjacent property owners who expressed concerns regarding the proposed 6-foot masonry wall adjacent to their property where horses are maintained. As a result of these discussions, staff is recommending an additional condition of approval. Staff is recommending the addition of condition 1I that reads, the developer shall update the tentative map to show construction of an 8-foot high solid masonry wall with bullnose capstone along the eastern property boundary adjacent to the area proposed for E1/2 RS zoning. A 6-foot high solid masonry wall shall be constructed along the remainder of the project perimeter as shown on the tentative map. And this shows where the 8-foot wall will be placed. As I wrap up my presentation, I just want to know that when considering if this project is consistent with the surrounding area, it is relevant to note that everything with a shade of yellow on the left map is designated for various densities of residential development. That said, the map on the right shows that the Kern High School District and Rosedale Union School District collectively own 112 acres immediately north of Hageman Road. Those properties are anticipated to accommodate future educational facilities as the area develops. As previously mentioned, the project will take access from Hageman Road. If the project is approved, the developer will be required to construct a masonry wall, install a 10-foot landscape area, construct curb, gutter, sidewalk, and street improvements along the project frontage of Hageman Road. In addition, they will pay approximately $13,000 per residential lot in traffic impact fees to help fund future roadway improvements, and that's close to $1 million for the 77 lots. Based on information provided as of this hearing, staff believes the proposal is consistent with the long-term land use patterns and vision for this area of the Western Rosedale specific plan. Therefore, the department recommendation is to advise the Planning Commission to recommend the Board of Supervisors adopt the resolution and recommended findings approving the specific plan amendment of the land use element of the Western Rosedale specific plan as requested, adopt resolution, recommended findings, and enact ordinance approving zone change as requested, approve vesting tentative tract map number 7446 with associated variations subject to the recommended conditions of approval, and approve the request for waiver of signature of mineral rights owners as set forth in the attached draft resolution. This concludes staff's presentation, and we are available to answer any questions. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, real quick, I would just like to note, staff is recommending that one addition condition. So the recommendation would actually be recommended revised conditions, and that would be to include the one as read into the record today.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Does the applicant have an opening statement at this time? State your name, please, sir, and
Good evening, Commission. Justin Beatty with Beatty Homes here representing the applicant, my family, the Beatty family, and the O'Connell family. We're here to say that, we're in support of staff's recommendation to approve that project. And as staff noted, we've met with a number of the homeowners, a few that front on Wegas, and then another group of homeowners that are here to speak tonight that are on Piscini. And I would say that, I guess just a little bit of background, that our family's been building homes in this Western Roseville area since the 1970s. If you look on the map there to the right of our yellow project, there's 80 acres that we just finished of half-acre lots that to the east of that are next to 2.5-acre lots. And as far as I'm aware, we've had no issues having the different lot sizes next to each other. But we tried to put forward, a thoughtful proposal. We've met with the homeowners previous to this application, and we tried to take into consideration their larger lots and put forward a project that is compatible as best as possible with their homes. And that was the reason for having some smaller lots up front and transitioning to larger lots at the back end and having that RS overlay on the southerly 10 acres of lots that could allow animals there. I would say that I know when you live on 2.5 acres, if you're having a half-acre or quarter-acre lot or a 8,000 square foot lot, they seem tiny. But if you look, throughout Western Rosedale, like specifically on Stockdale Highway, just a couple miles to the south, everything that's getting built out there now is microscopic lots. They're 4,000 to 5,000 square feet, and that's where the trends have gone. But our bread and butter has been being a local community builder and building nicer semi-custom homes, and so we're just trying to find the next project. We think that the project makes sense, given all the reasons staff listed, but there's a lot of areas within Western Roseville that have serious, not serious, but there are sewer concerns, and our project is unique that we have access to live sewer. And so just a quarter mile away, there's a sewer trunk line, and we have a will serve letter from NOR Sewer. They'll serve our project. I know that the homeowners along Northern Piscini, these 16 homes, they're on a private well. And so our project would be served by this Vaughn Water well site that's already existing. It had nothing to do with our project other than when Vaughn chose to put that well site there, they are accounting for the future growth in the area. So our project is not punching a new well. It's just there's a big 16-inch water line that runs along the frontage of Hageman. And right now it mostly goes to the east to serve existing homes, so we would tie into the water system there. And then where our sump is directly to the west of that little yellow kind of node sticking out.
Mr. Beatty, can we wrap it up a little bit?
Sorry about that. Sorry. I guess in summary, we've met with the neighbors who live on Piscini, and they have some concerns, and we are willing to work with them. And one of the biggest concerns, it appears, is they would prefer to have Piscini punch out all the way to Hageman. And so we do have an alternative design that makes some slight modifications that would be, we think would work. And so we don't have a strong opinion. We think that our initial plan is the best one, but based on comments from the neighbors, if they feel like having the road open and they're okay with switching lots around slightly, we would be okay with that too.
Well, why don't we wrap it up here and let's
Yeah.
hear from them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Moving on down, let's go ahead and invite those who are opposed to this request to come forward and be heard. Please state your name for the record. Let's try to limit it to, I'm usually pretty easy on time, but let's try to limit it to 2 minutes if possible.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Love. I am representing a huge group of people. So since I'm speaking for several residents, I respectfully ask if they can yield their time to me. I will not take long, I promise. I will speak really fast. But
As
that
long
way
as-
we don't
As long as I
overlap.
can make it home for a late dinner.
You got it. You got it. Thank you so much. Okay. We've always understood that this land would one day be developed, whether we never expected it to remain an orchard forever, and we're not here to stop housing. We want the project to succeed, and we are asking that the place that where the new division and subdivision meets our existing neighborhood be designed carefully now before avoidable problems become permanent. Our neighborhood has 16 homes, 8 on Piscini and 8 on Nord Avenue. Most of the properties are about 2.5 acres. We don't have curbs, gutters, sidewalks, streetlights, sewers, paved roads, or public water. Our 16 property homeowners share 1/16 in our own domestic well, and we're accustomed to rural living. Our biggest concern is the wall. The track map places the wall along the subdivision western property line and the boundary directly beside Piscini Street in our neighborhood. So county mapping identifies Piscini within approximately 60 feet dedicated, which puts the wall directly in the middle of Piscini as it is now. The road is unpaved and is not maintained by the county, but we rely on that full right of way. As drawn on the map, the wall would run straight through our road and we would be unable to use the road. It obviously changes how we use our homes and how we can get in and out. Piscini is used by horse, livestock, trailers, RVs, farms, equipment, utility vehicles, emergency vehicles. The existing 30-foot road easement extends from the current property line toward the center of Piscini, and that's why the wall placed on the property line would sit within the functional road corridor. Public Works calls a separate 30-foot dedication along the project's western frontage, and we are asking that those 30 feet be provided entirely so that we can keep the road clear. We are also asking for a separate 10-foot landscape setback in the new subdivision on the Piscini side, which would give us actually 40 feet, but 30 feet of our 60-foot full road. The side facing our home would be finished and not plain block wall. The landscaping would soften our view. This brings us to another question. Who will maintain the wall, landscaping, and who will pay for it? The county documents mention that the zone benefits 71.8, but we have not seen final boundaries, assessments, or specific responsibilities. Before the project is finalized, we're asking for clear explanation on what the zone will maintain, which properties will be included, and how those costs will be assessed. I want to separate the next concern from the neighborhood wall issue because this part directly affects my personal property. My home at the northern end of the existing road in Piscini is blocked. My driveway entrance would become a practical turnaround. That affects how we enter our vehicles, our trailers, and problems for fire engines, ambulances, and other areas to enter in and out. We would like for Piscini to continue all the way through Hageman and be a permanent road. We support paving the full length of Piscini that borders the development from the southern project limit to the northern project. We are not asking the developer to pave the entire existing street. We're asking each development to improve the frontage it creates so that the next project is held to the same standard. Paving and drainage must be planned together. Piscini already floods, pavement changes, water moves, and the final plans need to show that the new grading and runoff will not push more water towards our existing homes. Okay. If the infrastructure is being improved beside us, it should help us address our existing drainage problems, not make it worse.
Tanya?
Yes.
I've given you way more than twice the amount of time. Can we wrap it up a little
Yes.
bit? Okay.
Okay, so we want to, we would prefer to keep the sump where it was originally placed, but we would like the road to go through. We do have a concern about water. We know that Vaughn Water is placed right directly next to the sump in our personal well. is actually quite far away, but we do want to know what the standards are when those 77 homes start pulling water, what that's going to do to our personal well. The other thing that we would like to ask for as growth reaches our neighborhood, we would like to propose that underground utilities, drainage improvements, and streetlights be extended towards our neighborhood. We're not asking them to actually hook up ours, but we would like stump outs so that at one day it might be possible for us to hook up. Finally, we would like buyers to need honest right farm disclosures, which you can also read in our brief.
Okay, Tanya?
Yes.
I have to end you here. I mean,
Okay, all right.
so-
We're not asking, can I say one statement? We're not asking you to choose. We're just asking that we're good neighbors on both sides, and we would like to complement each other and not have issues down the road.
Understand. Thank
Okay.
you so much. Now, she was speaking for a group of people, so I'm gonna let 2 minutes.
Well, I'm Ann Ward, and I live on Piscini, and I have 2.5 acres. The proposed map shows, it says 60 foot, but that 60 foot is from the corner of my house, and 30 of it is my front yard. And so the road would be reduced to only 30 foot, which is not, the wall would go right down the middle of the existing road. And I cannot get, and I have a 23-foot gate, I cannot get my livestock trailers, travel trailers out of my gate unless you open it up to a county-sized road. I can't do 30 foot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Gregory. I live on Piscini Road. Would like to not circle back to everything that Mrs. Love said, but we are facing, all of us are really wanting the road to be left open. Justin and Joey had met with us, and they're open to it too. Public Works, I know, has said that, with egress and fire hazards, we don't have fire hazards out there, as he stated, but we do have EMS issues, problems with entering where we are. I wish you guys would have taken some pictures of our properties so you can kind of see we're on a dirt road and it'll box us in. If you look at Meacham, which is at the end of the 8 houses, that's going to be proposed in the future, whenever, to be a 4-lane road. And Hegman is still going to be widened, but to me, the impact going through that, if you would do an environmental impact study, is there that much traffic that's going to go through there? You guys have made this to where all the exits go to Piscini, but not to Hegman. So are we looking at, are we closing this road off because of all that has been pushed to Piscini Road, and then now we're boxing this off? Again, you're limiting us on what we can do with our homes and access to and from our homes. Again, Justin has said he's willing to work with us on several things. This site, I had told him and Joey directly, do we like it going in? No, we don't like anything going in. That's where we're at. We love the almond trees, we like all that out there. But again, we're torn, we're in our own well. This is gonna pull more water off our bowls and our well that really nobody, and I told Justin, it's all great to put some money in people's pockets, but we've lived out there for 26 years, some 50 years. No improvements have done anything to our homes out there. Don't mean to take up all your time. Thank you for your time, but that's what I'm saying.
Thank you. All right, I'd like to invite those, seeing none, is everybody else okay? All right, moving on to invite those who support the request to come forward and be heard. Anybody?
Justin Beatty, applicant again. I think that 95% of everything that Mrs. Love discussed, we could address. And we have a revised plan that just got finalized like 4 o'clock today, that I think addresses almost all those concerns, and so I could pass it over to staff and see if it's something they're acceptable. But some of the items she talked about, we would be happy to record, a right to farm notice covenant on our property. The city of Bakersfield already makes you do that on every piece of land that's within like a half a mile of farmland. And then as far as keeping the road open, we did it that way because we thought the neighbors would prefer not having more traffic through there, but obviously hearing all the comments, they prefer to have it open. So we have an alternative layout that basically addresses all those concerns. So I think that there's a lot of common ground we could find. So I don't know if I could hand this to Mr. Johnson, or if we could make a motion on.
Well, I would hold off on any of that just
Okay.
at the moment.
Well, anyway,
Mr. Murphy,
yeah.
how would we handle that?
Well, right now, your commission has not made any recommendation one way or the other. So
Nope.
at the moment, we haven't closed the public hearing, you haven't heard some of my feedback,
Perfect.
you haven't had your deliberations. So I think I would hold off, and I will be able to assist you
Why don't you
if you
hang
do
in
have
there?
some potential changes.
So our
but I
comment
would
is
hold
we
off just
have,
yet.
we have a revised plan, and we think we can address a ton of the neighbors'
Okay.
concerns.
All right, thank you. Sir?
Good evening, Brian Beatty, one of the applicants. Just a clarification on the water issue, and I understand luckily the SIGMA, the statewide water act, is pretty much in full play now. We're currently farming the land with almonds. We have a big 12-inch well that will all come out when we build houses. And based upon the studies done in the past, the houses actually will have less water usage than the almonds. Almonds are one of the largest water users. So I don't see a major situation, possibly an improvement on that. As Justin said, you're going to get more staff and comments, but what we'd like to do is that the commission support staff's recommendation. Following that, we commit to you that we'll continue meeting with the neighbors and see if there's any those tweaks that we can do to improve their situation. There'll be another public hearing before the Board of Supervisors. So we'll circle back and see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. All right. Would the staff like to make any additional comments on this item? Is there any further?
I would. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to touch base on a few of the items just to give some context and some food for thought for both the residents and for your commission. And we actually also have Mr. Cesar Ayon with the Public Works Department that can correct me if I say anything inaccurate as I kind of talk about roads and things along those lines. So the first thing I want to talk about is first the overall concept of having Piscini go all the way from Meacham to Hageman Road. So this is something that we asked the Public Works Department about their opinion. When they looked at it, there's two things to note. One, no adopted map has ever said that it should go through. Piscini is a local road, which at the most would be 60 foot wide. And if Piscini went through under a local standard, the amount of traffic that would be driving on it and the speeds going an entire section line would get to where it's going pretty fast. Public Works is concerned that what would happen in the future is if they did have that road go all the way through and it was built out completely as a 60 foot wide local road, the length is a long strip without any bends, without any turns. And so what will happen is further development occurs. A traffic light will go up sometime at Hageman and Nord, development will come forward, and people will start to use this Piscini Road as a cut through to where they will come through down Meacham, race up Piscini to get to Hageman, and then come over. So Public Works is noticing this in a couple different areas around Bakersfield High School. And so their recommendation is that it not cut through because they are concerned that if that 60 foot wide is not built to handle the speed and the traffic at which they anticipate cars would drive as further development occurs. So, I just give you that it can happen. The development can go through that way, but Public Works does not believe that it is appropriate and it's in the best interest of the neighborhood based on their experience and what they've seen happening in similar situations around Bakersfield. Regarding Piscini itself, so the item that you have right now, and this is where Mr. Ayon could correct me, I believe Piscini is an existing 30 foot wide strip. It's been dedicated 30 feet on the residents that have already been built out. To my understanding, on the property owned by the Beatties, there has never been any 30-foot strip that has been proposed as any access or anything along those lines. So the road technically is entirely on the property owner's side at this particular moment. The project does not propose to have any dedication on that portion of the tract. Now, that is something, if your commission believes is appropriate, yes, there is a possibility. No, maybe you should require 10 feet, 15 feet, whatever it would be, some sort of landscaping buffer. If that's something you're interested in, I can help your commission craft that kind of requirement, things along those lines. But as of today, and as of the proposal before you, the existing roadway would stay 30 feet from the center line east on the property that's already been dedicated, and there would not be an additional 30 feet that would be dedicated or required on the Beatty's side as of what is being presented right now. The question about the maintenance. So if it is your commission's desire to go through and require some sort of landscape buffer or anything along those lines, it would be treated the same way as what would happen on the Hageman frontage. So ultimately, the county, it would go into the zone of benefit, and ultimately the county would be the entity that the taxes get paid to where they're maintaining that landscaping. So it would go under the same landscape maintenance plan as what is being done on Hageman Road. So again, if that is something your commission is interested in, we can kind of talk about that, kind of see how that goes. But that is how that maintenance would work. It would be considered part of the overall tract. The tract would have to pay its appropriate assessments to be part of that zone of benefit, which includes landscaping requirements, and it would be part of that aspect of it. Regarding any of the utilities, you know, the best I can say is it's difficult to require an applicant to do anything off-site of their property. So I know that Ms. Love had asked, hey, can the utilities come down and extend a little bit further? You know, they're creating a number of things that are extending close to their properties. So I don't necessarily think it'd be appropriate to give any requirement or direction that some of these utility extend all the way down to Meacham or anything along those lines that completely front the property owner's house. However, this project will bring in sewer lines and other things much closer to proximity than what they currently are now. So I do believe that the overall question of, hey, is it helping to benefit if those residents ever did want to go through some sort of those, take advantage of those connections, they might be possible. I'm trying to see if I answered all of the questions. I believe I answered most of them. If anything comes up, you know, I'm happy to provide any further clarification. Again, Mr. Aon, did I classify? Okay, he's shaking his head. So the way that I explained how Piscini and the road network existing right now, you know, that is how Public Works have looked at it. I know that when the question came up in the first place and staff was looking at the original track map, yes, these residents have always wanted to live and have a rural lifestyle. This project helps to maintain that, we believe, in the fact that it doesn't generate traffic or roads or anything that directly they would use. I mean, clearly, you know, Mr. Ward, Mr. Gregory had mentioned, which I didn't quite understand his comment about leaving the neighborhood onto Piscini. Actually, any traffic from the neighborhood is gonna leave onto Hageman. So actually, as presented right now, this project really wouldn't generate any traffic on Piscini just simply because that's no way to access the development from Piscini specifically. So again, as designed, I think the intent was, hey, it's existingly zoned residential. How can we develop or build a project or propose a project that tries to respect the existing lifestyle that the neighborhood had already had? And, you know, partly I think the applicant did that by trying to minimize the amount of traffic or any access that would directly be in front of their road. With that, I'm happy to answer any other questions or clarifications, or staff is ready to provide your commission with some assistance should you have any direction you would like to incorporate into the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Any other staff member quickly? No? Okay, moving on. So the hearing is now closed to the public testimony and open to the commission for questions and comments from my fellow commissioners.
I can start. I looked through a lot of the comments, and I think there's a consistency with that landscape buffer commentary and the block wall concern. So I'd like to walk through some options for us there. Also looking at the current ag zoned lots off of Hagman, just west of the site. It is existing ag land now, and so I could foresee this being something in terms of setbacks that we might want to prepare for in the future. So I think first I'd like to start with the block wall issue and see what our options are there, and then maybe move to the landscape buffer.
Commissioner Skidmore, through the chair. So if it is your commission's desire to somehow incorporate some sort of landscape buffer, again, today's action is recommendation. So staff can look, and I believe we actually may have a potential recommendation in terms of a condition that can be added specifically. But basically, you would be giving direction, you would help define how many feet we're talking about. Clearly, that would be important, that you would be looking to have identified as part of the tract in terms of a landscape buffer. Mr. Johnson, just so that, since we're talking about it, could you read a potential condition to address that specifically?
Yes, we could add a condition that says the applicant shall install a landscape buffer along Piscini Street. Said buffer shall be located on the project site boundary and be approved by the Kern County Public Works Department.
So the only thing that we would like you to add, if that is something you wanted, is we would like to know how many feet that we believe is appropriate. And again, as of the discussion today, we would say that that would be from the center line of where Piscini is right now. Just because that is the intent, is we did not have any dedication for Piscini from the road, anything along those lines. And part of the reason for that, just, didn't mention this before, is once you require that dedication, Piscini itself is a public access, privately maintained type of road. So if it was dedicated, the concern is that there's no one to help maintain part of the road, because the road would be used, but then there would not be anybody that would formally maintain that half of it, because it was kind of, it wasn't both of it. So that was part of the concern in terms of why Public Works didn't originally say, hey, let's dedicate an additional 30 feet from Piscini. So as of now, if you gave us a distance on the buffer, it would be from the center line of where that proper Piscini, the middle of Piscini would be. And then the landscape buffer would be incorporated that way.
And it sounds like right now Piscini is a dirt road, correct?
Correct.
Okay, do we have a defined center line on Piscini?
So technically, it would be where the property boundaries are. So the Beatty's property technically comes to the center line of where Piscini Road would be. So that would require an official surveyor. If you're asking me right now, I can't say that I have anybody that can say right now, definitively, this is where it would be. That would have to go through, and it'd have to have the different surveys would look and find the markers and kind of specifically identify where that would be.
So this would essentially then cut into the Beatty property. By adding in a landscape buffer, it's now cutting into their development.
Correct. So, if those lots were half acre, whatever distance, whatever we go through there, that's just less land that they would have in terms of the net acreage from that property. It would be a landscape buffer that would not be owned. But what we want to make sure we don't have happen is clearly, especially with a block wall, we don't want those future landowners to be then responsible for maintaining that area, just because they wouldn't have access to it easily. That wouldn't work. So the buffer would be, we would treat it similar to how we treat the same type of space in between, like on Hageman, where a block wall goes, and then you usually have the curb gutter sidewalk, and you have some landscaping and things along those lines.
Okay. The second topic, and my opinion is, I agree with Public Works on the concern of the traffic and speed if we do extend Piscini all the way through. But I do have concern that is shared with some of the homeowners on Piscini about their properties becoming turnaround spots and or having tight access for their existing, motor vehicles and things. So is there an option that we can consider, maybe a roundabout closer to the sump area or something that we could add?
We can, and I can touch base on that a little bit more. So the bigger picture as all, if Mr. Johnson could point to, and I apologize for the residents that are there. I don't know if it's Winfield or Windfield, but Winfield Road. So that is Winfield Road. So it goes adjacent to the property owned by the Loves, and I forget the other individual that owns the property that touches Nord. So a number of years ago, the board actually, as a request of the applicant, vacated that access point. So I just want to make sure that your commission, as we talk about this, right now, while that vacation has not recorded, it's been approved, and we are simply waiting on the landowner to provide the appropriate documentation that utilities have their private easements on it, but they will be able to close that at any time once they record that document. So yes, you are now at a point where if you drive up Piscini, there is nowhere to turn around other than kind of what you have there as well. So the fire department has looked at this. We have had conversations with the fire department. As of right now, it's not necessarily a concern, but regardless of what happens, we are committed that if the fire department comes through and says, we don't believe we can get a vehicle that can turn in that space once all is said and done, then we have incorporated and told the Beatties that we would need to have some sort of adjustment on that line to ensure that there will be some sort of turnaround. So, I mean, your commission can clearly, if you wanted to, give direction that says the map has to have it. You can do that today. I can tell you that we are still coordinating with the fire department to figure out whether or not they believe that it's needed, but that we are committed as this continues to go forward, if it does move forward past the commission and as it continues to go forward to the board, that will be specifically addressed to ensure that the fire department is 100% comfortable that they can make sure that they can turn their vehicles around and that they can get to Piscini and come down, just because of the fact that we have Winfield that has already been potentially blocked. So if that did need to require, then yes, there might need to be some adjustments on those lot or two that the Beatties have that they're proposing to ensure that there is a knuckle turnaround and enough space for the fire department to do that.
And since we have it up, this yellow line, where exactly is this block wall? It's just on the Piscini yellow line area, or does it go all the way through that, I guess, that dirt road between the sump and the development?
It would be all along that western boundary because the sump would be there, and because it's going to be a county-maintained sump, there's a requirement that there be a block wall as well. So yes, that line, that yellow line, Ms. Johnson, can you use the pointer just to kind of go through? Yeah, that would be 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet, and then over there, that would all be 6 feet as well.
Got it. I think for me, what I'm thinking about is I definitely want there to be some type of ability for turnaround. If there's a block wall that is going to go all the way around that sump in that area, I think there has to be some turnaround options for those residents and for emergency services. That is my interest. I am interested in a landscape buffer of some type. I'm open to potentially what the property owner is potentially going to propose, because I know you all have some options. So I'd be interested in seeing what your new proposal is, but I also want the rest of the commissioners to have an opportunity to ask questions and make comments.
Madam Commissioner, through the chair real quick, if it is your commission's, so it's not part of the record yet until your commission would recommend it, but that same condition that Mr. Johnson read in earlier, where it specifically had the change about the block wall on the eastern boundary, we would add language, if it's your commission's desire, that basically discussed the turnaround area as well. That they would also have to revise the map to ensure the turnaround and what I would say as deemed appropriate by, and I would use the word Kern County Fire. So ultimately, if it is your commission to specifically make a recommendation that has that provision in it this evening, that is the condition I believe would be the most appropriate to include that language on. I would, actually, as we talk about, this would also be the same condition that I would add where we talked about the landscape buffer stuff, yeah.
I got one comment. Mr. Murphy, can you comment or approve or deny what you think for Mr. Beatties when he's talking about the water with eliminating the almond trees? Is that actually going to be a benefit to those homeowners?
So water, yes, but there's always a point of where water and things along those lines when it comes through. I mean, in general, and again, the Beatties could probably give the number and I should have it with me. A residential lot is, half an acre foot, a quarter acre foot, I can't remember the number. I have it written down, and clearly I should have brought it with me today. But in a lot of cases, we do believe that intensive agricultural farming does generally use more water on a yearly basis than what would be done from a residential property, things along those lines. What I can tell you from the water is this is not a situation where I have two groundwater projects, where they're both using groundwater in private wells. The benefit of this particular project is there is a proposal, and we do have a will serve letter from Vaughn Water. You know, Vaughn Water is the responsible agency that is required and that has to ensure that there is sufficient water in the basin to provide water to the project site. You know, how and where they get their water, that is a bigger basin. You know, it goes through their whole properties, things along those lines, and then they have the piping that's appropriate to be able to move it from location to location. I can tell you in general, independent of this particular project, the whole valley and farming in general is facing concerns regarding water. And there's a lot of agricultural properties that are being required to not be farming anymore, just simply because of SGMA requirements and overall water usage in totality. So the conversion of ag to residential use in general is a supported type of development when it's in close proximity to other residential uses, things along those lines. I mean, because ongoing sustained farming is something that can still be done, of course, but decisions are having to be made. A lot of farmers are coming to try to figure out what is the best soil, what is the best location to continue farming, and they're starting to use their limited water resources that they have in those concentrated areas. So again, in general, the benefit for this particular project is that it is the Vaughn Water Company that is the public agency that has reviewed this, determined they have sufficient water in terms of what they're allowed to pump to provide service to this particular site.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Anything else, Mr. Brooks? No? Mr. Dunbar?
I guess I'd like to see somewhat what the applicant thinks and kind of what they're willing to do. I lean to believe that the fire safety needs to dictate what's needed at the end of the road, and kind of looking at it, got to determine the maintenance. If you put a landscape area down there, you've got to have maintenance people travel through private property to go deal with it. They've got to supply water to it. There's a lot going on there. I mean, I think legally they could go put a 6-foot wall around that property right now without anything. So, I mean, those are kind of the things that I'm thinking.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dunbar. Anything else? Okay. I know myself personally, I do agree with my fellow commissioners as well in regards to emergency vehicles and having that turnaround. I think is very, very important. We don't want turnarounds in private properties and stuff like that. I'm not as concerned as much with the landscape buffer, but I do want to hear more about that. I think that as well as what the applicant has to say, Mr. Beatty, I'd like to hear about. I think Justin was the one that had said he had some things that he had worked out with that. We'd like to hear a little bit more about that as well. Either of the Beatties.
Thank you. Just in response to your question on the water. So we're in the Rosedale Rio Bravo Water Storage District, and they're required by state law to be in balance. And so when we farm, we actually have to pay money in addition to the regular taxes to buy water when we're extracting, and they actually measure it to do that. When Vaughn extracts water, they have to do the same thing. So they're paying into, like, it's primarily on Allen Road near the Parkway in the big deal, so they pump water in there. So they have methods to purchase and trade water to do that. So that's how that's handled. We share the neighbors' concerns about the fire access, and at the end, or at the intersection of Winfield and Pacini, there's already 30 feet there, and I don't know what staff, there's been discussions about whether they were going to abandon that public access easement, but that's essentially the same problem because they need somewhere to park or turn around the truck. We're more than willing to add our 30 feet to their 30 feet if that's what, we're willing to do whatever it takes for the fire department to believe that it's safe for all the Pacini neighbors. So that's, you know, you can include that, or I think we probably have to have that as part of our whole overall process regardless. Yeah, it's an awkward situation there because 30 feet, but I've seen it many times. People there's no fence line, there's no lot line that they see, and people's yards kind of grow into the 30-foot drive area, which is supposed to be there. And so I'm not aware that anyone's having to take out their landscape, but it would be, and 30 feet is determined by the county already for many, many years to be sufficient. However, I'm not sure it really is, and big trucks, trailers, whatever. And so if there was a way if we'd be allowed to pull our fence in 5 or 10 feet onto our property and not change anything else, we'll just position our fence so they have more elbow room when they're going down there. And so that doesn't require a huge amount of money. It doesn't, they're currently maintaining plus or minus 30 feet of dirt because the county doesn't maintain the dirt road. We're just given an opportunity to maintain 10 more feet. So the same maintenance that they do now will give them more. And in addition, they haven't brought it up, and Justin kicked me for pointing out other things, but I've driven this other sites in Rosedale that have this exact same thing, block wall fence, and it's on the property line. But if there's a way for the standard back wall fence, and anyone's backyard is either 5 or 10 feet. Someone will tell me the backyard to building a barn, a shop, a structure is either 5 or 10 feet. Anybody know, or 5? 5 foot setback. We'd be willing to put a 20-foot setback away from the block wall, because I just visualize all of my neighbors that are on Pacini looking into the back of this Butler building or big industrial kind of building and thinking, what is that? So we think, rather than some of the other things they're asking about, this is something that costs us nothing. It's going to make their home better and more valuable. And so that's all I'm saying. I think we'd be willing to move the fence back 10 feet, and we could move it to 20 or even 30 feet back for the large buildings. And I think that would make their world much better.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reed. I think, did you have something, Lauren? Okay, I think that you said you had there were some issues with walls stopping or going across a road or something like that. Isn't that what? Okay, yeah, she's nodding her head. And did you have some alternate plans or something like that you had stated? I'd like to hear just briefly about that, please.
Oh, Justin Beatty, that was the comment from the neighbors that they prefer that Pacini extend all the way up to Hageman.
Gotcha.
So, and that was what Mr. Murphy had a long conversation about. And I said that
Sure we can.
we did come up with an alternative design that could show how it could go through if that was the situation, but it sounds like potentially it could stay the same layout, but provide an additional area for emergency services to have a proper turnaround.
Okay, thank you, Justin.
Sorry, so Mr. Beatty, Justin, you have the plans in your hand that take the road all the way through, and we haven't decided that yet. I mean, my opinion is to not extend it all the way through based off of the discussions about public works concerns, but I also think in the future, the neighbors would be happier not having excessive traffic potentially speeding through your properties. But if we create a way for that wall not to be in your, to where it creates space for you still to have your turnaround and be able to use your normal vehicles and your trailers and things like that. I think if we come to that conclusion, you don't necessarily need the road to go all the way through. I'm seeing nods. Okay. Okay. There are some that still want it to go through. Okay. Okay. So I think we need to decide, do we want the road to go all the way through? That is one. What do we want the setback to be for this block wall, and or do we want to consider a landscape buffer?
I know my concern, basically with the road going all the way through is the exact county's, eventually, and then in the future, you know, once people get used to this road going all the way through, is you get the increased traffic that goes through an unmaintained road. And that's a real concern of mine. So as well as, I know we need to have the safety and things like that, but that's our concern. Anybody else?
I mean, I agree with you.
Right. Other than that, I think that the width of the street for the emergency vehicles, and then we need to, I think that is pretty much a consensus here, that we shouldn't have the road going through because of traffic and speed and issues that are going back. And then, but we do need to talk about a setback, and Mr. Beatty is willing to go 4 times the setback at 20 foot, so I'm okay with that. And as long as you're okay with that.
These are big lots. These are deep lots, and they're gonna have horses and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, we'd probably do it just because it's the right thing anyway, but we're one to go on record is saying, we can pull these barn stable things forward, giving them more feel. And if we're allowed, we would move the
Did you
block
say
wall,
20 foot or 30 foot?
whatever your preference is. So, but that is, it's gonna have a better turning radius, and so,
Yes. To clarify, so everyone's clear what he's saying a 20-foot no-build setback from the rear property line. Currently, the standard's 5 feet. So I guess that would be we'll to put that in as a condition, that would be 20 feet.
And your standard's 5 foot, so I mean, you're going
Yes.
4 times the amount, so, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can walk through to help you guys.
Please.
So, because we've talked about a whole bunch of different things. So, first thing you have to decide, and regardless of what it is, I can tell you that the county will work with the Beatties to kind of make sure that we know where the center line of the road is. You know, it's a little bit of an existing unknown right now because where that road has moved over time. So your decision here is a little vague, but we can work to make sure we know where it is while this goes to the board. So the first question is, let's just say for argument's sake that you leave that part aside. County's gonna continue to work with the Beatties. We're gonna find out where the legal center line of the road is, so that information could be presented to the board if it had to, whether or not, hey, we do need some feet for roadway purposes on Piscini, first of all. My understanding is you've already made it sounds like a consensus between the commission about wanting to have a turnaround, which we would be able to add to that. So then the next question is, a landscape buffer specifically. So if we just assume that they're gonna build on the center line of the road, and there's gonna be 30-foot still for the property owner residence, the next question is, how many feet do you want a landscape buffer? So a landscape buffer is not an easement or anything along those lines that Mr. Beatty referred to right there. It's a question of what is the distance from the center line, landscape, and then a block wall. So I would need to know it sounded like your commission was interested in that, but we need to have a foot distance, 10 feet, 10 feet, 14 feet, 15 feet, whatever it be. So I would need a foot distance on that. And then the second thing that was brought up by Mr. Beatty that is separate from a landscape buffer was that if you wanted to direct that this map also include and incorporate a 20-foot no-build easement that would be basically from the block wall 20 feet in depth to the property owners of the Beatties. So what that would create, if we talked about it, there'd be the center line of the road. Let's say you said 10-foot landscape buffer. Then there would be a block wall. Then there would be a 20-foot no-build easement that would have to be established along that western boundary so that those future landowners, when they did purchase that lot, they could build their home, they could put their home where it's gonna go, they could maybe have a shed in the backyard and everything, but what that no-build easement would do was ensure that no structure is built within 5 feet of the future block wall. So it provides the residents of Piscini their existing 30-foot road, a 10-foot buffer, a block wall, and then an additional 20 feet before they would actually see structures. So those were kind of the things. If this is how you were going, I would need direction to say how long, how wide the easement needs to be, And then I would need to have your commission specifically say, yes, based on all this, we think the applicant needs to put a 20-foot no-build buffer easement that extends from the fence line to 20 feet in depth of their property.
I'm willing to make a motion based off of these items, but I would like to know if any of you have opposition to any of those elements.
I just want to hear a little bit more in regards to what your ideas were for the landscape buffer.
So for me, when I think of a block wall, I immediately think of trying to deter anyone from having direct access to that wall, tagging, any type of vandalism. So when you put some type of landscape, it naturally will deter individuals from wanting to do those things. So I was thinking 10 feet. I'm open, Mr. Murphy, if you have a routine sizing, then I'm open to that too, but 10 feet seems reasonable to me.
I'm not a tree expert.
Not either.
I think 5 feet makes sense in terms of just landscape things along those lines. So if your whole desire was, I want to soften the block wall, I personally think that 5 feet would be sufficient to do that. If part of your decision in the landscape buffer is to help provide additional space to the residents of Piscini regarding future structures of those other properties, then I think 10 foot, because that adds an additional 5 feet. So again, if you were purely talking about landscaping, I think 5 feet is sufficient. If your desire is landscaping and additional setback from the existing residents of Piscini, then I would recommend 10 feet.
Does the applicant have any opposition to either sizing element?
No, we have no opposition. 5 feet or 10 feet is good with us. I would state that I'm sure you probably saw from the homeowners behind us, but the existing 30 feet, I was out there with them, I guess that was yesterday, and it is very tight there. So I guess just part of the motion for proper fire access and continue to work on that. We're also willing to work on that to ensure that as part of this process, if this project did move forward to the board before in this kind of interim period, we would have a surveyor go out there and make sure that that road is wide enough. And if it needs to have some extra footage, we're definitely willing to accommodate that because we want them to be able to get in their properties, even if the road's meandered over time or whatever.
Thank you for that. I'm going to propose 10 feet, and I do just want to say for the record, it is our job to provide as much clarity to the county to be able to help ensure this development happens. But I would like the current Piscini homeowners to know that the Beatty's projects, historically have been very supportive of nearby neighbors and communities, and I have heard great things about the way that they work with communities, and so I would say you're very lucky as nearby homeowners to be able to work with them. But I'm gonna propose the 10 foot, and then if there's any other opposition, then if not, I can make the motion.
Well, I think,
Go ahead.
I guess I want to clarify that I don't know that I'm in support of a turnaround, or the planning commission determining what they need. My thought is life safety, fire department needs to tell them what they want. And so if 30 feet's good, or if they need more, I think that's where I'm at. And then, again, whatever the setback, it seems like these are reasonable if we did 10 foot and the 20 foot no build, but I guess I want to clarify if they're willing to put landscape in and back to who's going to maintain it, so that there's an understanding there. I'm in favor of the setbacks, but not necessarily the landscape.
Okay, Mr. Murphy, I'll make an attempt. I'll make a motion to add conditions of approval for said turnaround as deemed appropriate by Kern County Fire and Kern County Planning and Public Works. That would include that turnaround area for safety purposes and equipment needs. Then the second condition of approval would be a minimum 10-foot landscape buffer, again, as deemed appropriate by applicant and Kern County Planning. The third item would be that 20-foot fencing, no-build easement, 20-foot no-build easement setback in the back. And I think that covers everything.
Okay, so let me ask my staff a question here. Mr. Johnson, knowing those three things, do you have a condition written that you could add all three of those things?
We can add those conditions. I can kind of read into record, and then you can correct me where it needs to change. So we can add a 1I or a 1-2I that would say the developer shall update the tentative map to show construction of a vehicle turnaround area on the northern end of Piscini Street as deemed necessary by the Kern County Fire Department and Kern County Public Works.
Real quick, to add that, I would say, which includes insurance of a 30-foot wide road, ensuring Piscini is at least 30-foot wide. So that
Yes.
would say in case that the road had moved over or things along those lines, that turnaround does help to ensure that Piscini has the 30-foot road regardless of where they've driven right now.
A minimum 30-foot road.
Yep.
Then we can add a 3 under this one, stating, record a public access, and Caesar, correct me if I'm wrong, record a public access easement of all subject property for the, record through Kern County Public Works Department an irrevocable offer of dedication to the County of Kern of all subject property for the westernly property frontage along Piscini Street, 10 feet in width,
A minimum of 10 feet in width.
a minimum 10 feet in width per the county development standards and the land division ordinance. This, and you want that to be landscaped? Because I think there was some,
Yes.
Yes.
you want that to be landscaped, so you're gonna have 10 feet of landscape, no extra road.
No,
Correct.
I don't think we want it just landscape. I think we are going to allow the applicant and planning to determine that
So we just
design.
want the dedication of the 10 feet.
Correct.
Okay. So again, record through the Kern County Public Works Department an irrevocable offer of dedication to the Kern County, to the County of Kern of all subject property for the westerly property frontage along Piscini Street, 10 feet in width per the county development standards and the land division ordinance. That'll give you 10 feet
For purposes of landscaping.
for purposes of landscaping.
And we have the 20 no-build setback.
And then the final action would be, in addition to those, project developers shall identify and record a 20-foot no-build easement along the western boundary of Piscini.
Yes.
Can we clarify that 20-foot no build, that would be 30 foot from center line, so actually it would be 50 feet from center line is a no build?
Yeah, it would be 20 foot from wherever the block wall fence
Or
is.
20 foot from the block wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the applicant wanted 20 feet from property line, or so, from the existing?
From the block wall.
So we can make that 4. Does that make sense?
That'd be condition number 4.
That'd be condition 4, it'd be 1, Roman numeral 4.
Correct.
Because Roman numeral 2 will be the vehicle turnaround, Roman numeral 3 will be the dedication for the landscaping, and 4 will be the no build setback.
And Mr. Murphy, I think there needs some clarification on when we're talking about the 30-foot road and that turnaround. Can you provide a little more clarification on what we're meaning?
Sure, so my understanding of your intent is that, 1, you want to ensure that there is an appropriate knuckle turnaround that the fire department says is appropriate. So we've got that language in there. The other question that came up during this discussion is, because over time, where does a road really move? So as part of the clarification for the knuckle, the Beatties will help survey, but they will find out where exactly is the existing road. And the knuckle will have to be located in a manner, and everything would have to ensure that there's at least 30 feet of road for Piscini, for all the residents that are on Piscini, to go up and down. And then again, if the knuckle has to go wider, the knuckle will go wider. But the question was, is there going to be 30 feet once the Beatties put in their easement and everything along those lines? So your clarification to that knuckle comment was, you're also making sure that fire is ensuring that there's 30-foot easement, and the county will do that. And so that will all be, we'll all be kind of look at that as we go between now and the board, but that's what the condition is intended to mean, from my understanding of your direction.
Correct, and so there will not be a reduction of the current size road.
Correct. If for some reason it started to because of where it was, then that's where we'll say, okay, Beatty, we got to make sure the road is here, and then we go back from all the 10-foot and the 20-foot, and we kind of will measure from there. So, yes, but that was my understanding of what your direction was.
And that knuckle will not affect any existing Pacini property owners' front yards.
It would not, because where the knuckle would have to go, it's all on the property that is the Beatty's.
Great.
It would go, I mean, maybe just a little corner, but no, it should not affect any of the adjacent property owners at all.
It'll probably be closer to that sump area. Correct, okay. That is my motion.
Do I hear it?
Do we need to repeat?
I think we have clear of what is required. I think we've read the language close enough. It will have to go, this is only a recommendation, and I believe, some of the council, that we've discussed and we are very clear what your desire is, so that we'll be ready to present that recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Second?
That was my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, moving on. Let's go for an on-screen vote, please.
Four ayes, one absent, motion carries.
All right, moving on. Item,
Mr. Chairman, real quick, just so that, since there's a number of residents that are here. So this was a recommendation, so a hearing notice will be sent out to the adjacent property owners when it gets scheduled for the board. We are tentatively looking, I believe, in late September for final consideration by the board. The staff report for that will come out the Friday before the Tuesday hearing. And if anybody has any questions between what happened here, how this is going to be done, please reach out to the planning department and we can walk you through what the next steps are, how the language will be written and shown on the site plans and things along those lines, if anyone wants to reach with us directly.
thank you, Mr. Murphy. So item number 5 is approved with those additional conditions, and that goes to as a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. Great. Other than that, I will take our final thing for tonight in motion. Do we have anything else? I don't think I have anything else, do we?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We are adjourned.
Aye.
Aye.